I'm your host, Christene Marie. It is late this Friday night, 12:24 p.m. Eastern, and it's been a good and strange day for me, but I'm glad to be here with you all. I was actually thinking about this show a lot over the last couple of days. Yesterday, I shared with I have a couple of different communities I'm a part of, and I'm on the faculty of Digital Marketer. And it's a community dedicated to entrepreneurs and marketers where there's just a lot of training there. And so they do a beautiful, excellent job providing so much support to marketers. And as a faculty member, there's opportunities to come in and share what's working and what's not. And just yesterday, I had the opportunity to share for the first time some of the things that I've been learning along this process of having this show. And it's been a rocky road at various points and a challenge at various points. And over the last couple of weeks specifically, it has been so incredibly meaningful to have conversations in the chat where we've gone really, really deep. We've talked about grief, we've talked about loss, we've talked about things that frankly a lot of folks don't. Someone even said, I'm processing here for the first time about losing a partner. And so that's exactly why we're here. I'll get asked, what's the point of the show? And yes, it's to cultivate intellectual intelligence 100%. It's to discuss artificial intelligence and how does that play a part in our lives today. But also these other intelligences that so often aren't developed in childhood. The IQ is something that has been developed since we were children. AI, artificial intelligence, has been taking up mainstream, and a lot of folks are leaning into that. But there's a few other intelligences in us that we possess, but we just don't know how to tap into it, and we don't know how to access it. And so this show is about talking about living integrated and living emotionally healthy, intellectually healthy, physically healthy, spiritually healthy. And how does AI come alongside us in those pursuits? But so much of my main focus, and actually I wrote this down earlier today in terms of while I was in vertical alignment this morning, just what is my mission and what's my why? Because having the clarity around why we're doing what we're doing really allows for us to keep going when the going does get tough, when it is hard, when frankly there's roadblocks along the way. And so I really wanted to lean into this topic tonight. What would change in our lives if we were to lean into one thing every single day and I like thinking along the lines of 61 days. It takes 60 days to build to create a habit. And so as I was talking through my process and how I went about starting this show in the first place, it really started out with just a commitment to myself. And so I've been really considering what would it look like for you and me to take the next 60 days and commit to one thing, just one thing every single day. It doesn't need to be big and grandiose. It doesn't even need to be flashy. And that's actually something that's really important because I was given advice by very well-meaning people about how I should be living my life, how I should be spending my time, how I should show up online. But one of the things in that's really, really important for us both to pay attention to is that my targets, think of it as a bowling alley. My pins, my targets and goals are very different than most other people. So they're giving me advice according to what their targets are and what their bowling pins are. And yet, if I'm not so clear about where I'm headed, I'm going to veer to the right and to the left, and I'm going to be looking to the side rather than looking straight ahead because I'm distracted, because their voices are loud. What they're doing might even be more flashy or trendy than what I'm doing. Yet what I'm doing ideally is actually getting me on the pathway closer to my targets. And so it's so important, as we think about, okay, well, how do I even know what my targets are? Before we can ask this question of, well, what would change in your life if you committed to one thing? Where are you even heading in the first place? And one of the questions, I've got a form on, I can actually drop it here in the chat, but there's a form where we've been having folks address just some questions and share, like, what would they like us to talk about on the show? And one of the things that has come up is, how do you know when you're walking kind of like in the right calling and doing the right thing? And I'm just dropping this link here if anybody wants to fill it out at any point. But the question of how do I know I'm on the right path is a really, really important question for us to consider, because it's so easy to live on default, and it's so easy to live on autopilot where, man, I'm actually not living fully awake and fully aware of almost like the full potency of my own potential. And so I think that there is something in this question that we all need to ask ourselves of, do I even know where I'm heading in the first place? Do I even have clarity around what would constitute as the bowling pins in my alley? Or am I living according to someone else's dream for me? I was talking to a mastermind a couple weeks ago, and we went through an exercise together that, frankly, I might host a virtual workshop in a couple of weeks and do this with folks if you guys are interested. Also, I'm not seeing any chats, which is strange. Normally I see all of them. And so just if you guys are putting stuff in the chat, I can't see it, and it's also not letting me put any notes in the chat, which is so sad because normally we have amazing conversations. So I think that's so strange. I'm nervous to like hop out and restart it because I don't know if this would just break the stream, but I see no notes. I'm so sorry. I'm not ignoring you all intentionally. But yeah, I don't see anything. So I'm so sorry. I'll just keep going, but I'd love to do a virtual workshop around what I was talking about with this community, because what it is that we did, I asked them a two-part exercise, two-part question. The first was, we identified the core focus areas of our lives. So let's say that we are looking at the bowling pins in our alleys. We are looking at our goals. Well, there's different kind of like focuses, quadrants of those bowling pins. You know, we've got the family quadrant, we've got the professional quadrant, we've got the financial quadrant. And so we've got bowling pins in each one of these categories. So what I asked them to do was rate on a scale of, like, let's say 1 to 10, how healthy are you in each category right now? They did that. And then next it was, how close are you effectively to your ideal? Like, what would your ideal look like, sound like, feel like in that one category? And then next, what would be one thing that you need to do to get you closer to, increasing that scale? So if you're at a 7 in health, what is your ideal in that area? And then what is one thing that you need to start doing in order to get you that much closer? And then, and another way of looking at it, after they filled this out, they had ranked all of their areas of their life on how healthy they were. They had identified what their ideal was, and then they had identified one thing that would get them closer. But then I asked them to re-examine their ideals and consider, are those actually your ideals? Or were those handed to you? Were those inherited? Are those actually of your own origin? And a lot of folks started realizing that at least in one category, if not more, the ideal was subconsciously set for them by their parents, or subconsciously set for them by their religious environment growing up, or even their partner. We latch on to other people's dreams for us because it's so much easier to fulfill on their expectations rather than to hold ourselves to a standard that is high. And frankly, it's scary because, well, what if we fail? But at least we're kind of playing it. Here's the thing that's interesting that I've experienced, and I wish I could see your comments. I'm so bummed. I've gotten, like, I literally started out this show saying how much I enjoy the comments here. I'm going to try to enter the studio on another stream, and I'm wondering if I'm going to I wonder if I can actually see the chat on this one. Doesn't look like I can. I don't know what happened to the chat, y'all. I'm so sad. I miss you guys. So never mind. I guess I'll just have to quit on the chat tonight. I'm sure it's all, my one of my friends and I, we have this mantra of, this is for me. So anytime anything happens, it's like, all right, I'm just going to trust that this is for me. So I'm trusting that this is exactly what it should be tonight, but I'm excited to chat with you all tomorrow. So all that to say if we were to sit and analyze core areas of our life, even romance, when it comes to ourselves, how we view ourselves, who set those ideals? Who set those targets? I even realized a couple months ago, actually it was back in the summer, I realized that my own ideal around beauty and how I look is set by way of how other people look. So I'm actually measuring my own appearance by way of other people's standards rather than what do I even like? Do I like, curly hair or do I like straight hair? And it was it was so on autopilot to just do the thing that everyone else was doing. And that's honestly, that's a small example, yet it's something that's so applicable to every single one of us. Who are we dressing for? Whose opinion and whose expectation is actually embedded in the role that should be ours? Regardless if it's how we show up, whether it's our belief system, whether it's the way that we talk or engage with the world. I heard someone say that they were like, yeah, my daughter learned like her voice, she's mimicking a TV character. And it just shows the power of what we watch, who we listen to, what we see. And so the question is, are we intentionally setting our own targets, setting our own objectives and goals in life? Or are we inheriting them or replicating them by what we're seeing other people, how they live? And it looks good, sounds good, let's go ahead and do that, rather than actually, is that truly in alignment? Is there peace there? And peace is usually a really good benchmark for me of, am I heading in the right direction? If I'm actually feeling off or feeling funny and it just feels not peaceful, that's usually my sign that I'm heading in the wrong direction, or that I might be actually living according to someone else's target and someone else's key performance indicator. That's a business term, and it just means like the metrics that define our success. We're using someone else's metrics rather than our own, because frankly, we're living according to someone else's targets. So this whole question then that we can kind of focus on to this point tonight, what would change if we set one key thing that we were going to be doing every single day? And so as I started going live every single day since June, so it's been, I think, 214 days now of going live, where it's revealed so much to me about me. It's changed me in cool ways because of the discipline, because of the consistency, because of the honoring and keeping my word to myself, where frankly, I had always struggled with that growing up. It just never was a value for me. But also what that does is that it also transcends down, or I guess cascades down into relationships with others. If I'm not holding my word of high honor to myself, then I'm likely not going to be doing it for others. And this golden rule where it says treat others according to how you treat yourself, or do unto others as you would do unto you. It's really interesting because how do we do unto ourselves? What is our own standard for treatment for ourselves? Is it one that's worthy of being replicated and extending outward to the external world? And if it's not, then that's our first and chief responsibility, is to actually take care of this connection with ourselves, and then we can take care of the horizontal connection. Because man, when we're full, when we're well, when we're healthy, when we're aligned, then we're giving so much more from a place of fullness, from a place of love, rather than from a place of depletion or from a place of lack, where frankly that can turn into resentment real fast. If we're giving to other people from our own depletion, we start resenting them for depleting our resources, and we don't even realize it. So us actually taking care of ourselves and loving on ourselves and self-administering TLC is actually one of the most loving things we can do for our children, our partners, our employees, to ensure that now they're getting the very best from us. They're not getting our leftovers. They're getting, first and foremost, the overflow from everything that's spilling from within. And so what would change if you were to implement one thing every single day for the next 61 days? There's a number of things that you and I could choose. For me, when I was choosing to go live every single day, part of it was because I had trouble with keeping my word to myself. That was a good almost like category that I wanted to grow in was, okay, let me actually build a semblance of self-trust. Another category that I wanted to build in was actually cultivating more relationships with folks in the business world. And so inviting them onto the show gave me an excuse to talk to them. So it really was like, what are the buckets that I want to strengthen and grow in? And then where is there overlap? What in terms of a practice or a habit that would touch these different buckets that I want to strengthen. So if maybe you want to strengthen your financial bucket, what is one thing you could do every single day for the next 61 days? If you want to strengthen your relationship bucket, if you want to strengthen your relationship with yourself. And so on Sunday at 5 p.m., we are joining to go through kind of the planning and creating of our key targets for the next 61 days. And we're going to be I'm going to be starting a WhatsApp thread where it's just accountability. It really is just us coming on and cheering each other on and doing 61 days of keeping our commitment to ourselves. And whether it's by proxy, we're strengthening our business or strengthening our bank account or strengthening our relationships, whatever it is, or strengthening our health. Maybe health is something that you really want to get on top of. Y'all, it was wild. I think I shared this example once before, but I'll share a different one now. I went and was flying Southwest Airlines a couple weeks ago, and they gave me these like little cinnamon cookie things. I love them. They're so good. And I know that they're not good for me. I ate a packet, and within about 20 to 30 minutes, I just started feeling in a really grouchy mood. And I was like, I was having the most wonderful day. Why am I feeling weird? And I realized it was because I was eating crap, like it has seed oils in the ingredients. And I just know that that's not what my body's supposed to be eating. Like seed oils are effectively poison, and they're in a lot of things. And I've seen mood shifts, even just today. Actually, I love the Diary of a CEO podcast. And there was a glucose expert on the show. And she said that 300 marriages and thus 300 couples were analyzed over a 7-day time span. And each individual was given a voodoo doll to represent their partner. And what they were supposed to do was any time that they felt annoyed at their partner, they were supposed to stick a pin in it and in the doll. But while they were monitoring, the behavior between them and their doll in relation to them and their partner, they also were monitoring their glucose levels. And what they saw was that with every single spike in glucose, and then on like the downward trend after the spike and on the drop, that's when they would stick the doll with the pin. And they were effectively annoyed. So it showed direct ramification of what they were eating with their emotional levels. And so this is where radical responsibility comes into place. If I really want to live at a level of peace, at a level of joy, I actually need to be eating and pursuing health along a similar lines that will allow for me to have this sustained emotional state. Because I know drinking is probably one of the most obvious examples, but sugar is another one of those. You get a drop after you get that sugar rush. And so the question is it worth it? And it could just be, let me explore what it's like for 61 days to make a conscious choice every single day to improve this one area of my life. One of the things, small, but something consistently that I've been doing over the last couple of, probably the last 60 days. I think I started doing it in November time period. I've started just every night, because my life has been a little bit strange, where I've been traveling a lot and in different hotels and Airbnbs. And one of the things that I've been doing is every single night before I go to bed, I do a 60-second plank, a 45-second wall sit, 10 to 20 push-ups, depending. I worked up to 20. And then arm dips on the bed, where you it's basically like you're in a chair position and then your arms are behind you and you dip down. And I just did that every single day, sometimes twice a day. And the goal was just to be consistent. Just before I go to bed, take 2 minutes. You can do anything for 120 seconds. And so it's all about rhythm. It's not about doing more or doing something big and grandiose, but it's about those micro changes that end up having the colossal impacts in our lives if we're consistent. So consistency really is the key. That is like the magic potion. And I'm so bummed that I do not have my chat working tonight, so I can't see what you guys are saying. But if you all want to join, I would love to have you join the challenge. If you go to, actually, let me see if I can share my screen. I have never done this. This is exciting. I think I can. All right, you should, oh, no, you can't see the URL. The URL is christenemarie.com/61 dash, here it's this, 61 dash day, and then there's another dash challenge. So christenemarie.com/61 day. I can't even post it here in the chat, which is such a bummer. But guys, I would love, love, love to have you join us on this challenge. I can't put it here in the chat, which is such a bummer, but that's okay. I'm sure it's all for the best. So christenemarie.com/61 61 day challenge. So christenemarie.com/61 day challenge. And I would love to have you. So here you'll just put in your first name, last name, email, phone. And the reason why I'm saying phone is because we're creating a WhatsApp group. And every single day we'll just be doing accountability. We'll be encouraging each other, spurring each other on. We've got 10 people now. My hope is that it stays rather intimate so it doesn't get too crazy. And then this is the question, if you're one thing, what is it? So if you have an idea of like that one thing that you really want to strengthen in your life, what is it? And if you don't know yet, that's fine. The people who have filled this out so far have said, you know, one person was very specific, but for the most part, it's kind of like a general idea. And then next, regardless of whether or not you feel ready, we're gathering Sunday at 5:00 p.m. ET to plan and provide extra support. Would you like to attend? So you can attend, yes or no. You can also get the recording if you want. But really this Sunday, so it's this Sunday at 5:00 Eastern, we're just going to be going through and kind of doing little round table hot seats where everyone's going to share what is their key focus area and then what is the manifestation of that. So for example, if you want to grow in the financial category, maybe it's for 61 days, I am actually not going to buy coffee out. That's just a 61-day challenge. Or you could do physically, my 61-day challenge is that I am going to, you know, do what I was just saying, do a series of planks, wall sits, push-ups, and arm dips, crunches, whatever it is. It could be professionally. Maybe you want to actually start getting into a cadence of building your social brand, and I'm going to post every single day. You know, it's just about consistency. That's really the goal. So that's here. We're going to be meeting on Sunday at 5. And then would meeting weekly be beneficial to you and staying on track, staying on track, in addition to the WhatsApp group? Some folks said yes, some folks said no. So I'm just going to kind of get a general consensus. And then if you have any additional comments, and then just confirm that I can email you. And then after you confirm that, I'm going to send you guys the link for Sunday. And then from there, we'll go ahead and create the WhatsApp group. So again, christenemarie.com/61 day challenge. It's on my Facebook. So if you go over to my Facebook, you can see the link there. Let me actually show you because I posted about it this afternoon. But would love, love, love to have you. You know, I think we need to be doing more things together more often. You know, I think that frankly, we've been doing so much of life alone. And I think it's time that we actually really together. So here you can actually see, here's the link, 61 day challenge. So would love to have you guys join me. In the meantime, tomorrow morning, I'll be going live. We'll be going through A Course in Miracles. We've been doing this every single day since January 1. I'll be going live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And actually, you know what? I have therapy tomorrow morning. I might be going live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So I'll let you know about that. Let's plan on 10:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. I think that that's probably what we'll end up doing. So we'll be doing lesson 24 because it's January 24th tomorrow, hot dog. And then I'll be going live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And then tomorrow evening, I'll be going live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, as I normally do. But tonight was an anomaly going live so late. It was also an anomaly because I can't see the chat. So I'm so sorry. I miss you guys being with you tonight. But in the meantime, I hope you'll join me for the 61-day challenge. Think through over the next couple of days, what category do you want to improve and strengthen in your life? Fitness, physical. So the fitness, physical health. It could be like literally your physical body getting in shape, your health in terms of like your stamina, your immune system. It could be relationships you want to strengthen, professional standing, your business, maybe getting a raise and kind of strengthening who you are professionally. Frankly, I think that every single person should consider strengthening their personal brand. That is the best and biggest asset heading into an age of AI where you are truly the only differentiator between a machine who can probably do all of our jobs better than we can. And so it's merely a matter of who are you and what do you bring to the job and position that you possess. And so I think it's a worthy consideration around your personal brand. And, I remember when I first started posting on social media, I felt so vulnerable. And so I actually was able to grow in my own ability to be brave and show up with courage while also promoting my personal brand. So again, there's duality. The ideal is that you're finding one practice or one habit to do for 61 days that does tap into a few different categories, because growth, ideally, the most impactful growth permeates many areas of our life rather than just one. So with that, thank you all so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll move through day 24 of A Course in Miracles, and then again tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But in the meantime, have a wonderful evening.